Hi YouTube, welcome to another edition of Horror Hounds, and for this video I'm going to go through 10 horror movies that had awesome titles, and more importantly, did they live up to that awesome title? So I'll get straight into it. First movie on the list is An American Werewolf in London. It's a great title, great movie. I've always liked the descriptive nature of that title, An American Werewolf in London, and it kind of begs a few interesting questions, like, why is it specifically an American werewolf, and how does it end up in London, and what does it do there? And of course, this is a very famous movie, so we all know that now. But yeah, it's a really intriguing title, and a really cool sounding title. And of course, an iconic movie now, so I don't need to go into that. But yeah, this is one I'd say this definitely lives up to its title. It is An American Werewolf in London, so yeah, it does what it says on the tin. So yeah, that one, great film, and it does live up to its awesome title. So in fact, I will put it in the lives up to pile. Okay, next up is a movie that I recently got and checked out, and that is Attack of the Beast Creatures. And I must confess, I did kind of pick this up for that title. It's a really awesome sounding name, and I was particularly intrigued to see what the beast creatures were. But this is an interesting one. It's a very low budget film set on like a tropical island. A group of people are shipwrecked and have to get onto the island, and they are attacked by kind of little puppet creatures. So I wouldn't exactly call them beast creatures. They're very small and can't do a great deal. It's a fun, low-budget kind of little creature movie. It was let down for me by the acting. The acting in this is absolutely dreadful. And usually I can overlook that. I watch some pretty low-budget stuff. But in this one, it was so bad, it kind of took me out of the movie. And I didn't think the creatures were anything special. They were clearly sort of limited by the budget. But Attack of the Beast Creatures is a fantastic title. It's really cool. I would say this doesn't quite live up to that title. I don't think the monsters in it are big and ferocious enough to be classed as beast creatures. But they do attack people, so yeah, you're halfway there. But for me, this one didn't quite live up to that awesome title, so that one's a no for me. Okay, next up is a short and snappy title, but I've always liked it, and that is Blood Rage. Really cool name for a film. It has a bit of a ferocity to it, which I think is pretty impressive. Blood Rage. And I always like titles that start with blood. And this is a really good slasher. This is a slasher movie that seems to have gone under the radar for years and years, but seems to have garnered a lot more appreciation since Arrow put it out. Which is good. That's kind of how it should be. They put out these obscure films, and if they're good, they get a bit of recognition. So it's nice to see that Blood Rage has become a bit more of a fan favourite. But it's a really good slasher film about these two twin brothers. One is a psychotic killer that's just been released from prison, and his twin brother kind of knows that things are still not quite right with him. But it's really good. They twist it up a little bit, and it's very, very fun and entertaining. And it's cleverer than what it gets credit for, I would say, because they really do use the duality of the two twin brothers quite well. It's, as I say, it's more of a fun movie. It's not a kind of full-on gruesome endurance test that the title Blood Rage might conjure up, but it's a really good slasher movie, and it does have some pretty decent kills in it and a fair amount of blood. So I would say this one pretty much does live up to its title. So yeah, that's Blood Rage. Okay, next up, one from the late 50s, and it is The Brain Eaters, which is an absolutely fantastic title. One of my favourite titles, I think, in sort of horror sci-fi. And this is, as I say, 50s film about these little alien creatures that sort of take over people and sort of get them to do their bidding. It's not one of the best that the 1950s has to offer. There's not a great deal going on in this one. The alien in question are these little kind of creatures that are sort of like almost remote control cars, sort of move. They move around like remote control cars towards the end. I enjoyed it because I am a big fan of the 50s. I have to say, and I'm sad to confirm, there is no brain eating. There's very little to do with the brain or anything to do with the creatures. It's more notion that these people have now been taken over and are sort of doing the work of the aliens. So yeah, no brain eating, no kind of creaturiness in this or any kind of effects of that nature. So unfortunately, it doesn't live up to the awesome brain eating title. But I didn't dislike the movie that much. But yeah, yeah, certainly not as wonderfully lurid as the title suggests. Next up is Frankenstein's Castle of Freaks, which is a really alluring title. This is one that I'd heard of for many years, and it took me a while to actually track this movie down. But I was always intrigued as to what was going on in Frankenstein's Castle of Freaks, like what sort of crazy creatures were lurking around in the corridors of that castle, and you know what crazy things were going on in this movie. Unfortunately, it is more of just a slow burn, sort of atmospheric Euro horror. I don't think there's really any creatures in this one. There's a hokey looking Frankenstein and a few sort of just weird characters morosely wandering around this castle, but there's not a great deal going on in this. Certainly not the crazy medley of freaky characters that the title would suggest. It's not a terrible movie, but it did fail to hold my interest a little bit. I think I did set my expectations a little bit too high for this one. But with a title like Frankenstein's Castle of Freaks, I mean, what else would you do? But yeah, it's much more of a slow burn Euro horror. So yeah, not one that really lives up to its title, unfortunately, guys. So that's that one. Okay, next up. Right, okay, next up is one of the coolest titles, but I've got to say it's the worst movie on the list. It's a really bad one. And it's an obscure film called Horror of the Blood Monsters. But what a title, Horror of the Blood Monsters. I mean, that is just absolutely wonderful. The movie itself, though, oh my goodness, it's a mess. It's pretty bad. It's more of kind of a patchwork of a number of failed different scripts and ideas, and they really have just cobbled something together which is almost incoherent. I think it starts out as a bit of a science fiction thing, goes into a bit of a space odyssey where they go to a different planet, turns into a bit of like a dinosaur sort of caveman movie where they're out in the wilderness and there's a few monsters, this monster in this swamp and things like that. But yeah, it's really all over the place. You can tell it has just been cobbled together from different things and it makes absolutely no sense. Also, when they travel to this different planet, the movie has this awful looking colorized tint, might be purple or something like that, but it looks garbage, it looks horrible. And yeah, it's absolutely not a good film at all. I would not recommend going anywhere near this, but man, Horror of the Blood Monsters, I gotta give them credit. That is a pretty awesome title. I guess they realise that they need something to hook people in. And for someone like me, that is, I would buy that movie all day long. So yeah, unfortunately, I would love to say Horror of the Blood Monsters matches up to that amazing title, but it absolutely doesn't. So yeah, avoid that one. So that's that one. Okay, next up is I Spit on Your Grave, which is probably the quintessential exploitation title. No messing around with a title like that. I Spit on Your Grave. Again, very famous movie, very controversial. One of the big video nasties over here. The sort of infamous rape revenge with Camilla Keaton taking revenge on her attackers and killing them in a variety of different and gruesome and painful ways. And yeah, she pretty much does everything but spit on their graves. But she definitely has a understandable animosity towards these people and pretty much messes them up quite bad. So yeah, I think this kind of harsh title does match up to the movie and the theme of the film. So yeah, very cool, catchy, nasty title that suits the movie. So I'd say that one does live up to it. Okay, next up is one from the creature feature from the 1950s. And the 1950s did produce some really wonderful titles. I Was a Teenage Frankenstein, Attack of the Crab Monsters, all that kind of stuff. But the one I've gone for is It Came From Beneath the Sea, because as I've said numerous times, I love any kind of monster movie that comes out from the ocean or the water. So yeah, It Came From Beneath the Sea certainly does promise a really cool aquatic monster. And in this one, it's the giant squid, and you have the famous scene of it wrapping its tentacles around the bridge, and you get some really cool Harryhausen effect. The movie itself, been a while since I've seen this one. I remember it being a little bit slow. I would have really liked more squid action. Never said that before. But so yeah, I would like to have seen that a bit more. I imagine it was pretty hard to animate it. But other than the iconic tentacles around the bridge, I don't think you see the creature all that much. So I would have liked more of that. It's mainly sort of scientists in a room talking. But it's a cool movie. I do love all these 50s movies, and I'd say it does live up to the title. It does come from the sea. Don't know if it comes from beneath the sea, but it certainly comes from deep beneath the ocean. So yeah, that one did live up to its title, and the effects of the creature going around the bridge and the road are just amazing. Okay, next one is a Hammer movie, and Hammer did some great sounding titles: Taste the Blood of Dracula, Curse of the Werewolf, Lust for a Vampire, stuff like that. But the one that I've gone for is Plague of the Zombies. Always thought this was a real heavy sounding title. I mean, if you want something to sound serious, definitely throw the word plague in. Zombies sounds cool. So yeah, Plague of the Zombies, really awesome title. Great movie. When I first watched Plague of the Zombies when I was younger, I was a little bit disappointed with it. Again, I think I'd set it up a bit more because of that title. But it is more of a slow burn. The zombies take a bit more of a back seat, although you do have that wonderful zombie dream sequence where they come at the guy in the graveyard. But I wouldn't describe it as a plague of zombies, but it is a wonderful Hammer horror movie with some great moments in it. And definitely one that I would recommend. I wouldn't say it lives up to its title. I would want more crazy zombie action and more zombies to warrant it as a plague. Although I'm probably being a bit too technical with that. But yeah, but it's a great movie. I wouldn't say it lives up to being a plague though. But yeah, really cool film. I must stress that. And last up is I don't know, maybe the most iconic and seminal horror title ever, and that is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that in terms of horror movie titles. I can't imagine being around in the 70s and saying, you know, what horror film we're watching tonight, or we're watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's like, wow, yeah, I'm there. But yeah, awesome title, iconic movie. I don't know, obviously don't need to go into the crux of that. But it's a great kind of grindhouse exploitation title that matches the look and feel of this movie, and it's pretty accurate as well. It takes place in Texas. A chainsaw is used for most of the kills. Whether it's a massacre, I don't know, but I'm not going to quibble over that. So yeah, I would say this one definitely lives up to its title, and of course is iconic in every way now. And yeah, is an awesome film. So that is the definitely lives up to its title. So I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're half and half. 5 of those movies did live up to the name, and the other 5 didn't quite. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. But let me know what you think of that, guys. Let me know if you agree with what I've said, and let me know if there's any titles out there that you think are particularly awesome, and if they were accurate or not. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.